All right, welcome back to the channel. So Terence Crawford has an out on Top Rank that I'm hoping that he's going to use, which could force the Errol Spence Jr. fight at 50-50 split, which people think or thought was absolutely impossible. And that is after Terence Crawford fights Josesito Lopez and Shawn Porter. Let's talk about that potential lineup of fights and the mega amount of money Terence Crawford stands to make because of them and how excellent this is for the sport of boxing. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So Terence Crawford is the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, period. I don't want to hear it from nobody else. I had a little salt on him before because I was like, I don't know, with the level of competition, I want Errol Spence Jr. to be #1 pound-for-pound, and I can make an argument that the two are right there. However, based on what he did at 135, 140, and having been watching his fights at 147 a little bit more closely, I think that it is right to say that Terence Crawford is the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. That does not mean, however, that everybody agrees with me, because there are some problems with Terence Crawford's resume at 147 that people will point out, continue to point out over and over again. And that is that he just does not have the marquee wins on his resume at 135, actually at 135, 140, or 147 to really say, hey, man, that I am the man for sure. What we're looking at with Terence Crawford is his domination of the dominant performances that he has, the otherworldly athleticism that he displays in the ring when he's fighting, the incredible IQ and the tenacity and just evil spirit that this dude has in the boxing ring. All of those things, man, that most people that are really, focused on this type of stuff say Terence Crawford is the man. I can't, when Buddy McGirt says it and guys like that say it, I'm like, hey, okay, it is what it is. I might have had a little bit of a personal issue with him because of, his camp can be kind of loose in the mouth sometimes. But can't hold him responsible for that, for his team defending him. Got to give him his credit. But at the same time, point out the fact that, he just has not had that signature win. Now, from Mike Benson, or I think it's either Mike Benson or Mike Coppinger, shout out to both of those guys. I follow them both on Twitter. Oh, and also, please follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. It would be greatly appreciated. And share the videos. That would be greatly appreciated. Regardless, what they're saying is that the next fight could be one with Josesito Lopez. Josesito Lopez, if you're not familiar, is like, I think, what is he called? The Riverside Rocky. He fights for the PBC. Just had an excellent fight on the undercard of he fought on the undercard of Errol Spence Jr. versus Danny Garcia last. Watched his fight. Excellent fighter, man. Woo, them hooks coming. Them hooks, man. Them hooks from Josesito Lopez ain't no joke, right? Now, in the fight, the most notable fight that he's had lately, he got dropped early by Keith Thurman and then came really back to push Keith Thurman through that whole fight and give Keith Thurman a very, very good fight. So Josesito Lopez as the next opponent for Terence Crawford, I think is, man, it's very, very solid. It's a very, very solid fight, man. Very solid fight. This guy is not a bum. He's going to be coming to fight. He's somebody that is, has got a very good pressure style. He doesn't have, I think that he's better than Igis Kalvanakis for sure. I think that he's definitely more fresh and more rugged right now than Kell Brook is, and at a better point in his career than Kell Brook was at the time. So I like that fight. I like that fight a lot. Obviously, I have Terence Crawford beating him. But the interesting thing about that is that is a PBC fighter, and that fight taking place is going to be negotiated between the two. Now, the reason why I say that bodes well for the Errol Spence Jr. fight is because there is now maybe not on this Josesito Lopez fight itself, but in the next one with the Shawn, because this is one that breaks in and has, okay, we're fighting with the PBC. We got a PBC fighter. It's more than likely going to be on ESPN, but it will definitely be, recognized that, hey, man, this is he's fighting somebody that they said, hey, that the two sides of the, from the other side of the street, right? Now, the next fight that, that more than likely would happen for Terence Crawford after that is the Shawn Porter fight. And the Shawn Porter fight, now again, this is building momentum, right? You fight Josesito Lopez, beat Josesito Lopez, get yourself in a situation where, you got the really solid win. You go in there with Shawn Porter, which is a pay-per-view fight without a doubt. And one that is a mandatory, one is that is going to be mandated by the WBO. And that there is the significant part. Because it is a mandatory fight, it can be pushed to purse bid. And if you paid attention to what's going on with Teofimo Lopez in Top Rank, you'll understand the significance of that. Just recently, Teofimo Lopez refused to accept a pay offer from Top Rank. I think they were offered him $1.25 million to fight Camboso in his next fight. But instead of taking that $1.25 million, Teofimo Lopez and his team very, very wisely said, no, let's push this to purse bid. Now, usually what would happen is, Top Rank would get in conclusion with DAZN or somebody else, and they would agree not to outbid each other or not to bid so high that it really takes the price of the fight out of the market. Now, that is something that Todd DeBuff was quoted as having done by The Athletic and Mike Coppinger in an article that they put up just the other day. I believe that it was written. I read it yesterday. It might have been a couple days old, but it showed that dynamic, that inside, kind of underhanded play that went along. However, in the situation with Teofimo Lopez, they were not successful in getting those bids low, right? Or keeping themselves competitive. What happened was Snoop Dogg, I'm always going to call Snoop Dogg. I know it's Triller, but I'm going to just call him Snoop Dogg, and the organization that put on the Mike Tyson pay-per-view, and also has another pay-per-view fight coming up that has like Justin Bieber and other major entertainers performing in the concert, right? What they did is for Teofimo Lopez, they bid I can't recall I think they might have bid somewhere around $7 million or something for the fight, which wound up giving Teofimo Lopez like 3.5 and giving Camboso like 2.5 million, and then the remainder going to Top Rank, right? So, and then anything above that they get on the pay-per-view, I'm assuming that they're going to get that money themselves, or they may give a cut to Teofimo Lopez. I'm not sure how that's working, but you can see that as long as those guys are willing in a championship fight, right, that's ordered to outbid people for that fight and put on those type of concerts, then what should that tell you about the potential for the fight between Shawn Porter and Terence Crawford, right? That is a huge fight, and one that those guys, Snoop Dogg and those guys, more than likely are going to compete on. And if they compete on that and they come in that much higher, now you're looking at a scenario where, hey, man, Terence Crawford is going to make, right? Terence Crawford might make $10-12 million, and Shawn Porter make $5 or $6 million, right? Before the actual pay-per-view, where you can then get into a negotiation about what that's going to be, right? When you after you win the purse bid, that sets up, without Bob Arum having to pay for it or complain about anything, a fight between Shawn Porter and Terence Crawford. And if Shawn Porter and Terence Crawford do big numbers on pay-per-view, then boom, there's your Errol Spence Jr. fight, because now Terence Crawford is the legitimate pay-per-view guy that on the same scenario, fought the same guy, Shawn Porter, on pay-per-view, right? It actually might have been, well, I don't know if that's going to work it probably won't work for the fight that's not mandatory, but still, you see that route that can be there, and something that could wind up giving Terence Crawford the money that he wants, Errol Spence Jr. the money that he wants, and everybody else the fight that they really want in the 147-pound division, and that's Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford for all the marbles. Obviously, there's Yordenis Ugas that's there. I would hope that Errol Spence would fight Yordenis Ugas, and then the two of these guys could come together and get undisputed. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think, and with that, I'm out. Peace.